This is Rob Tebbutt for Behind the Gloves in association with Fresco Box. I'm here with Shane McGUIGAN, trainer of George Groves. We're here at the final press conference for George Groves versus Chris Eubank Jr.
Yeah.
How are you doing today, Shane?
Good, good. Nice press conference, great turnout, loads of media coverage, and it's nice to be at this stage of camp. You know, since training the whole way through Christmas and well before it and stuff like that, it's finally come around. It's come around quick, and I'm really excited about this fight. You know. It's going to be a fantastic fight.
As you mentioned, it has come around quick. It seems like only yesterday that I was catching you at the announcement press conference.
Yeah.
Why do you think that was? It seems to be like one of those time flies when you're having fun situations. It's sort of...
Yeah. Well, it's Christmas, isn't it? Everyone just doesn't remember Christmas. They just enjoy it. So that went quick, and yeah, just to be honest, when you're a coach and you've got lots of dates in advance, you've got guys fighting. All you're doing in week in, week out, you're booking sparring, you're taking people on the pad, you're preparing, you're making sure they're peaking right, and then they fight and they win, and you go back into the gym and you just do it all over again. So it's a great thing, but time does fly when you're a coach. I feel like that anyway.
What do we see today? A lot of people were turning up expecting to see sort of fire and brimstone and people going at it. We didn't quite see that though, did we?
The thing is with George is he's been here many times before. This fight sells itself. You don't need to make bold statements now. You know, yeah, it's a pay-per-view event, but everyone's talking about it. Everyone's raving about this fight, and it's a very intriguing fight. And Eubank feels like he's still having to prove something. He's come to the press conference without his dad. Maybe that's because his dad's so nervous he's going to talk over him. Maybe you know what I mean? Gabriel Clark made a comment that he did the same with the Yildirim press conference. So you know, we've seen a couple of things that were unexpected today, and we've also seen a guy that's still barking and still biting at it. And George is just his usual self. He's done all the preparation. He's just enjoying himself now, and he's fully focused on Saturday night.
Now, George has been involved in some of the most high-profile clashes. He alluded to James DeGale, obviously the 2 fights with Carl Froch, and that's just domestically. He's always had the Badou Jack fight. This, in my opinion, is Chris Eubank Jr.'s first real big fight. I mean, he obviously had the fight with Billy Joe Saunders, not quite on the same scale as this. Do you think what we saw today was perhaps nerves manifesting in Chris Eubank Jr.?
Yeah, or someone that's you know, has been spending his whole life to try and prove to his dad or his family that he's someone special, you know. And this is his moment, as he said many times in the past. And you know, you've got a guy that's spent his whole life building up to this occasion. That when you get there and when it's all said and done, and after the fight, you know, he's going to have to rebuild himself. But even that, like, it's a sport at the end of the day. You have to enjoy every process. You have to enjoy being in the gym, the whole process. And you know, you can't spend your career trying to, you know, right wrongs with keyboard warriors and Twitter and social media trolls. You know what I mean? And that's what he's constantly talking about. So I feel like he's a complex character.
Now, George said that this wouldn't be his most difficult fight. We've obviously listed the fights that he's had in the past. Do you agree with that from a coach's point of view? Is this? I know you've not been with George for some of those fights.
Yeah, exactly. For the fights that I've had with George, it's one of the biggest fights we've been in terms of from a you know, main event, a high-profile standpoint. It's probably the biggest fight we've been in. But in terms of quality of opposition, you know, he's been in there with Martin Murray, who boxed, who arguably beat Martinez. Once again, he got a draw against Felix Sturm. He's been in there with top guys, a well-proven guy. And then obviously the Chudinov fight. That was a big fight for us. He had one loss against Felix Sturm, but it was a terrible decision. So he was pretty much an unbeaten guy going into the fight, and a big lump. And I'd say it ranks second, you know, above Murray, but below Chudinov.
Let's just talk a little bit about George's progression under you. You mentioned the Chudinov fight where he won the world title. How different is he now? I know he's made his first defence, but now he's a world champion. He enters this fight. As he said, he's on top now. Is there a notable difference from the George Groves now than we saw before the Chudinov fight?
Yeah. he's got his confidence. You know, he's got his mojo back. He's spent his whole life wanting to become a world champion. He failed at 3 attempts, won it on the 4th, and now he's proved to himself that he's good enough. And maybe that was one of his. Maybe he was putting so much pressure on himself the whole way through that. Maybe he was putting so much pressure on himself the whole way through his career. You know, I remember he said when he was 11 years old he thought he was going to be the heavyweight world champion. He was never big enough to be a heavyweight, but you know, so he's had huge, high expectations of himself since a young age, and you know, he had some ups and downs and upsets, and he's learned from them when he's rebuilt, and now he is a legitimate world champion, and he's proved to, you know, he's proved to himself that he's good enough. So now they say he's riding the crest of the wave, but I don't think so. I feel like he's got so much more to achieve in this game. And you know, it's going to be a similar story to what Eubank Jr. had, because he's built himself up so much. He feels like he's going to be this amazing superstar. And then when you get beaten, you're going to have to rebuild and you're going to have to learn from it, because he hasn't had any learning yet.
And just finally, Shane, because I know you're very much in demand, we saw George at the workout yesterday look very, very sharp.
Yeah.
Without divulging too much of your game plan, what have you worked on specifically to combat Chris Eubank Jr. in this fight?
I've had speedy guys come in for sparring. We've been working on certain combinations, certain things on the inside to nullify his attacks, his uppercut. Just positioning on the inside as well. So it's just, listen, it's like every single fight you go through, you got to analyse your opponent and you work on things, and you got to make sure you try and execute your game plan. And if everything goes out the window and it gets into, you know, gets into that dogfight, you have to have it within yourself, and I know George has got that within himself. Okay, well, Shane McGUIGAN, thanks very much for speaking to Behind the Gloves. Always a pleasure catching up with you. Look forward to catching up with you in the rest of the week. Cheers, mate. Thanks. Shane. Cheers, buddy.
Hi fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so by clicking this icon right here, or else.